Ladies and gentlemen, the unusual artistry of Sid Krofft.
Hi, everybody. Today, a legend will be my guest, Toni Basil. Everybody out there knows that I love creativity. Well, Toni is the most talented person I've ever met in my career. And I just can't wait for Toni to come on, because if you think that I am having a huge career, wait until you hear what Toni is going to be telling us about her career and all the stars that she directed, and the famous stars that she directed and staged. So, not only is she the most incredible director, choreographer, but she's a killer performer. And I just can't wait, to talk to her, because what has our connection been in show business? You're going to hear all about it. And ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to see you, Toni Basil. This is going to be real show business. So, Toni, there you are. Wow.
We're here.
Oh my God.
Oh, Sid, you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Oh, Sid.
Oh, come on. Toni, the last time we saw each other was at Tony Shamley's Christmas party, right?
Well,
I've lost my voice.
I thought you were going to say the TV Land Awards in 2009 when we did the salute to Sid and Marty Krofft.
Well, no. Of course I saw you there. But after that, we waited every year to go to Tony Shamley's Christmas party, because the coolest people showed up.
And he was one of the greatest choreographers ever. He did so much for choreography on television with Mitzi Gaynor, major stars. But I don't know if your audience knows that both our families are show business families. You come from a family of puppeteers, and I come from a family of vaudevillians. My family goes back to 1919. You can see on my channel, on my YouTube channel, a video of my mother's two older sisters, Billy Wells and the Eclair twins.
I work with them.
Well, you worked, I think you worked with Billy Wells in the Four Phase.
Four Phase, right.
That's right. Now, when were you at the Chicago Theater? Because my dad was the orchestra leader at the Chicago Theater.
Okay, first of all, Toni, your dad is responsible for a huge part of my career.
Wow.
Because I'm sure you were living in Chicago when he, weren't you? When he...
of course I was living in Chicago with him.
From
1947 to 1957. 1947 to 1957, he was the orchestra leader at the Chicago Theater.
Plus, your dad did all the club dates. And a club date was a convention in the ballrooms of the biggest hotels, because it was just New York and Chicago.
The Stork Club.
Oh my, wait a minute. The Stork Club was in New York, wasn't it?
Oh, I thought they had one in Chicago too. Well, anyway, I know, and he also worked with you when we moved to Vegas at the Flamingo Hotel with Judy Garland.
Well, that's right. He conducted my act. And the reason he loved my act is because Henry Mancini's arranger wrote the music for my act.
Wow.
And the music of my act, every band, every orchestra just couldn't wait for me to come, and play in their facility because they love playing the music. But earlier you said my family of puppeteers. No. My family knew nothing about show business. Nothing.
Okay. So when did you start puppeteering?
When I was 10. And what about you? Everybody's really interested. I know you come
I've always danced. I've always danced because I stood on the side of the stage of the Low State, the Chicago Theater, the San Hotel. I always danced. I was always immersed in show business. My family was always on the stage. My dad, was the orchestra leader. I would go every weekend and worship at the theater. Every Saturday and Sunday, stand on the side of the stage. I remember your puppets. I remember them well. I mean, but I saw acts like, K-Star, Judy Garland, Frank Sinatra, Nat King Cole. Everybody played the Chicago Theater.
Oh, of course. And I also played the Palmer House. I played the Edgewater Beach Hotel and the Stevens.
Did you play the Edgewater when they did the Aqua Show?
No, the Aqua Show. I think the Aqua Show was after.
My dad played for the Aqua Show. Yeah. I remember going out there.
Also, Toni, Olsen and Johnson had the biggest Broadway show in the 40s. It was called Hell's a Poppin' at the Winter Garden Theater, right? And it played, I don't know how many thousands and thousands of performances. And then in the 50s, I think it was 53, they put together a new show. And I'm positive your dad conducted that show that was going to go to Broadway. We opened in Chicago. Okay. And it was called Pardon Our Antenna. It was about the beginning of television, right? And it was awful. It was an awful show. We never even completed our engagement in Chicago. We were supposed to go to New York.
Who else was in it?
Olsen and Johnson. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's why we probably stayed in Chicago.
Chicago was
the show bombed.
Yeah, the show bombed. Chicago was a big, important.
Incredible.
No, that was the heart of show business after New York, right?
I know.
Yeah, because remember Muriel Abbott, that she was the booker of all the Hilton hotels, and I played the Palmer House. I played the Palmer House with Hildegard, Kay Thompson.
Oh my God, Kay Thompson.
Do you remember her?
Now, was your brother with you then?
No.
Does your audience, my audience, which is also tuning in, probably doesn't know that you had the first, how do we put it, puppeteers that were a little blue, sexy. Oh, your puppets were very, very sexy. That's what made you so famous. It was just startling. Puppets were usually for kids, and then all of a sudden you did this adult puppet show.
You know what you're bringing up? I'm right now working with David Copperfield, and I have been for the last 6-7 months. Awesome. Do you know him?
I don't know him, but I sure know who he is.
You've got to put him on your list of people to know. I got to tell you. Okay, Toni, magic was for kids. Puppets was for kids in the backyard, little birthday parties or whatever, But David took magic and brought it into the adult world.
Well, you were doing puppets before the Muppets. You were doing puppets before the Muppets.
Oh, I'm way before the Muppets. Way.
What were your shows that all of a sudden that you were producing on television throughout the 70s? They were huge.
Well, we did 26 television series, and Pufnstuf, Land of the Lost, Donnie Marie. Let me ask you about Donnie Marie. Didn't you do one season with us?
No, I know Marie. She's a good friend of mine, but I did not choreograph that show. What year was that? What was the 80s? I think I had a song.
It was the 76, I think.
Well, 76, I was still with the Lockers, and I was just leaving the Lockers. Fred Berry who was also in the Lockers, became rerun on What's Happening. Shabadoo left the group because he was going to star in Electric Boogaloo and Breaking. Don Campbell created that dance we were doing. And, you know, we, from 73 to 76, we opened up for Sinatra at Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
The same year, we opened up for the Funkadelics and the Ohio Players at Radio City. And we toured with Sinatra. We had a very wide audience like you did. You had a
but the Lockers that was an explosion.
It was. It changed the face of dance.
Oh, totally.
It brought street dance, urban culture to a huge television audience that thought it was just social dancing. And we raised the level to performance. They realized it was an art form. And we are so proud of
also, Toni, I remember it changed dance totally. We never saw anything like it. It was like we were waiting for the next sound in music, you know, and when rap came in, I saw at the Universal Amphitheater, I saw the Fat Boys, and I said, hey, that's interesting, but I don't think it's going to last. But when you came in with the Lockers, oh my God, that was like the freshest thing we had ever seen.
I had a lunch with Bob Fosse's muse, Anne Ranking.
Oh, yeah.
And she said, I said, you know, there's a step in one of the shows he choreographed in the show called Chicago that kind of went like this. I said, it looked like he was locking. And she said, oh my God, Bob loved you. Every time he saw the Lockers in TV Guide, because that's the only way you knew when we were going to perform. There was no YouTube, there was nothing. And she said, Bob Fosse called all his friends to say, they're going to be on Carson. They're going to be on this. They're going to be on that. I mean, Bob Fosse?
Yeah.
I think I sobbed at that luncheon. By the dessert, I was sobbing. I was so thrilled. I think at the time, you know, we were flying by the seat of our pants. And I don't think at the time we realized the effect, except we were doing every big show and touring with Sinatra and doing MGM Grand. But I don't think we really realized how much it was changing dance history.
Totally.
And it's just extraordinary. And, you know, Fred Berry went on to be a big TV star. Shabadoo, you know, was a movie star. And I did, Hey, Mickey, You're So Fine, you know.
Oh, so, Hey, Mickey. Oh, yeah. Come on. Let's talk about that. I mean, wow.
That was in the beginning of MTV videos. As a matter of fact, I shot that video and recorded an album in 1979 and 1980. And that's when I shot those videos. There wasn't MTV until 81. I did that for a European company that wanted the videos as promotion. So all of a sudden, the BBC saw my videos, and I got a half-hour special in the UK. The song went to #1, then it went to #1 in Australia. Then we got an American deal, Chrysalis Records.
Right.
And then there was MTV. So I came to Armed and Dangerous. I already had videos. So, and the video, you know, of these cheerleaders was not unlike anybody had ever seen, because nobody ever seen cheerleaders mounting on top of each other.
You started that.
And you know what also? They were real cheerleaders. They were real cheerleaders, where mostly on television you saw jazz dancers, which, my God, are fabulous dancers, but kind of imitating cheerleaders. So this was real, authentic American, once again, art form, like the lockers. And it was a shock. It was a shock. And then there was a girl in the middle, and I was doing the Campbell lock, and I was by then doing electric boogaloo and popping. And of course I was doing cheerleading because I was a cheerleader at Las Vegas High. When I went to Las Vegas High, I was head cheerleader at Las Vegas High.
Wow. You know what, to get back to Donnie Marie, I got to tell you something. My mind is very clear, and it has been my whole career.
No kidding.
I remember.
You're clearer than I am.
No, listen, don't get too carried.
You're clearer than I am.
You're getting too carried away. Hey, listen, Toni, I got to tell you something. This is what I remember. I had a meeting with you about doing the choreographer, and you said, now listen to this, you said, I want to take rock and mix it with ballet.
Oh!
And I remember that, and I know it was you. I know it was you. And
that was me because I did it. Lauren Michaels let me do that as a video on Saturday Night Live, I think in 75, 76. I had already left the lockers, but in 87, 88, the Smothers Brothers did some specials. And I reinvented that concept again with 2 electric boogaloos, 2 lockers, and it was nominated for an Emmy.
Wow.
So
see, where would I have gotten that information? I really remember, you know, and to get back to your dad, he always blew me away because everything that he did, he would book me in to his club dates, the Chicago Theater. He gave me 100% billing.
There was nothing like you. And you brought puppetry to an adult audience. And it was spectacular. It was groundbreaking.
Well, thank you. And you know, with Judy Garland, he did not conduct her. She had her own conductor. But he conducted me. I was the opening act, you know. And on opening night, I have to tell you what happened. On opening night, you could have been a dog act or a kid act or puppet acts always stop the show, right? Always, because it's so unique. And so opening night, they flew in 3 plane loads of the biggest movie stars on the planet. This is 1957. So you name it, they were there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Pearl Bailey appeared at the Flamingo 3 or 4 times a year. Huge
she brought
star.
me on stage at the Flamingo.
Oh my God. Wait to listen to this. That's so bizarre. She was sitting ringside. When my act was over, she stood on her chair and asked the audience to give me a standing ovation. That was opening night. I'll never, ever forget that. We became great friends, you know.
Well, Dad was best friends or very close friends with Lou Belson, her husband.
Oh, I love Lou. Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. And your dad, something maybe people don't know about your dad. He wore watches all the way up his arm.
Did he?
You didn't know that because he wanted to know.
I thought that was Eddie Youngman. I thought that was
No, your dad wanted to know what time it was all over the world.
Oh.
That was his hobby.
That's so interesting because I do too. I'm always saying, what time is it in Paris? What time is it in Japan? I do the same thing. See, it's genetic.
It is. It is genetic.
It's genetic.
And I think tomorrow is Monday. You need to see a doctor about that.
Okay.
Watches. Oh no, you need to know what time it is, and all over the world. That's great. You know who I want to talk about is Joe Layton, because we both. Oh my God, I love Joe so much because I don't know if you know this. The first time that we became friends you know, he was a Broadway doctor. And then he got the opportunity to do Barnum, direct it.
Yes.
But they always brought him into Dr. Up shows.
Yes.
But that was his first, I think, big show. And because I traveled with the Ringling Brothers Circus when I was a kid, when the Big Top sat 15,000 people and the show had 1,800 performers, you know. So when Cirque du Soleil says they have 30, we had 1,800. Okay, so anyway, no, it was a whole world that this generation has no idea.
Well, Joe just broke ground with when he was the director and the creator of Streisand's television specials.
Oh yeah.
They were spectacular. And you know, Joe also directed Bette when I was choreographing her.
Well, I know, yeah.
So, and then after Joe passed away, I became her director. So I sat and watched Joe direct. I mean, I sat in meetings with Joe. I was so lucky to experience him. So lucky.
Well, just to get back to Joe, Toni, he brought me in as a consultant on Barnum because I knew so much about circus. You know, I was only 15 years old, but I traveled with them for 2 years. But then Joe, of course, did the Raquel Welch show in Vegas.
Yep.
In the world of Sid and Marty Krofft. It was all, And then Joe did his very last show that he did was at the Sands Hotel. It was our production. It was called Comedy Kings, and it played there for almost 2 years. And Joe, that was his very last show before he left us all. But oh my God, I loved him. And I don't even know if you know when Joe did Bette Midler, it might have been the last one that he did. He came up to my house and talked about props and with puppets, and so I sort of consulted him again with him because I loved working with him, his mind. You know, when I opened up, I said, I love creativity. Well, come on, Toni, the reason I just love you to death is because your creativity and what you have offered in this business, in dance, but more than dance, you know, your visual mind. I mean, Bette Midler, come on.
Well, but also, you've got to realize, I also worked with Tina Turner. I did her first show when she left Ike, and I choreographed and directed her last tour, her very last tour.
I saw it.
Also, I worked with Bowie. Now, you don't come out of Bowie, Tina, and Bette, and a Joe Layton without a hell of a lot of knowledge. I mean, as much as you give them, these geniuses feed you back, you know? So one hand washes the other. And, you know, as I kept continuing to work, I mean, I just kept getting more and more knowledge. And I mean, there was nothing like the knowledge of standing on the side of the stage when I was a kid.
That's right.
And act. So, you know, it's like I was like a Juilliard from the age of 3.
Well, I can relate to what you're saying because people always say to me, where do you get your ideas from? And I always say from life, because I've been in show business since I'm 10, you know, and I've traveled all over the world. I was in an ice show and a circus, and I worked with Gypsy Rose Lee in the Royal American Carnival when she had her own show.
Wow.
Yeah. So you know, you name a star, and it's crazy. I tell you a story about it. Just working with Judy Garland. You know, I toured with Liberace. That was a whole other trip. You know, I mean, that was like, there's nobody on this planet that made the impact that when I toured with him for almost 2 years. We went to Europe, we went to Australia, you know, everywhere. He was bigger than the Beatles.
Oh, he was big.
It was like hysteria, you know.
Yeah.
And but when you go back to Judy Garland, because I toured with her, not just the Flamingo, I did her whole tour with her, and and the people that saw my act, the star, because every performance there was a star, you know, in the audience, so curious about Judy Garland. That was her first tour, and she had, I think, 12 dancers, and who was the choreographer? Oh my God, I can't even remember his name.
It wasn't Ronnie Lewis, was it?
No, not at all. No, I do have senior moments. It's somebody that did movies, and yeah, and I love her opening because I have to tell you a crazy story. I'm not a dancer, but my puppet act, I don't think you'll remember this. I moved like a dancer. That's what was fascinating to people, because when they just saw a puppet, it would be just a marionette in front of them.
Yeah.
And they wouldn't move, or they do it on a little stage or whatever. No, I covered the whole stage. You know, if Radio City Music Hall, you got a big stage to cover. You know, with puppets, with little puppet. Well, they were 3 feet tall. You know, but in me moving like a dancer, where am I going with this?
You were saying she had 12 dancers.
Oh, she had 12 dancers, right? And her opening, they had a sign. Each one had a letter. It was like a big sign on a stick or whatever it was, and they spelled out, "There's a storm coming from the south. It ain't Edna." And they kept spelling out, "It's Judy, Judy, Judy Garland." And then they would form a big circle, and we would pop her underneath the curtain, and she'd be there in the middle of the stage. Well, we're at the Greek Theater, and one of the dancers overslept, but he was staying with his family in Orange County or something, right? And they asked me to fill in with the letters because they couldn't spell out the letter. I'll never forget that night, screaming at me on stage, "Go left, go right." I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but wow, those are great moments in our careers.
I know.
You know,
I
just
know.
crazy things that happen like that. And just touring with her, and that's how Sinatra and a lot of people, I was the opening act for them too, Donald O'Connor, and you know, yeah, all kinds of people like that, because I played the Fontainebleau, and I played places. Can you imagine a puppet act in Vegas? I mean, that's like, just the thought is a little sick. I mean, who would care about a puppet act?
But it was an adult puppet.
Yeah, well, yeah. It wasn't It wasn't dirty or anything. I did have a stripper that they liked.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. And the puppet stripped.
Yeah. Oh,
had
totally.
Seen that before, Sid.
Say that again.
I said, and the puppet stripped. I don't think people in the audience had ever seen puppets stripped.
No.
That's what I mean. It was groundbreaking. It was so different and so entertaining.
I had a puppet that actually lit a cigarette with a lighter and inhaled and exhaled. It had a little...
Do you have any video on YouTube of your puppet act?
No, isn't that sick? I have tons of pictures, which you even send me, marquees and old pictures from your dad. You know, when your dad did club dates in Chicago, there'd always be a huge star, Milton Berle, or
Milton Berle. He and Milton worked a lot together, and years ago, outside of the Beverly Hilton, I think there was an event, and I ran up to Milton Berle. I said, "Hi, I'm Toni Basil," because I knew he knew Dad. And he said, "Your father was the best orchestra leader that I ever had." How about that?
Oh yeah.
He could pick up those charts, he could read them, and he could direct quick. He was quick.
I sent you the marquee at the Chicago Theater. This is 1952. I'm just a puppet act making maybe $200 a week. But when I worked for your dad on a club date, that's what he paid me for one show, $200. I was like a millionaire because of your dad, because I supported my family. And he made sure he not only loved playing my act, the music for it, but when he introduced me, I'll never forget this, Toni. When he introduced me, it was like I was the biggest star on the planet. He gave me 100% billing on the marquee at the Chicago Theater. Who the hell was I?
He was also a great MC. He introduced the act. It was great.
Oh yeah. And
so you remember my mother's family, the Billy Wells and the Four Fays?
Of course. Come on. I mean, they were at the top of the bill.
They weren't at the top of the bill, but they were always my Aunt Christine, that silent film, 1919. It's on my YouTube channel, Toni Basil's House. Also on my YouTube channel is Billy Wells and the Four Fays, that Aunt Christine was the head of. That's 1962 and 1964. She danced in the act from 1919 to 1964.
Wow.
You want to know something?
And that's on my YouTube channel.
Yeah.
We can see
you
the
sent it to me.
That's why I asked you if you had any. Did you ever play Ed Sullivan?
Oh, yeah, twice.
Well, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Do you know that,
Green with Shecky? Yeah.
Okay, so wait a minute. You know that Ed Sullivan, they have now put out a big box set of all his acts, all the shows.
Oh, so I must be in there.
I bet if you order them, and you can look it up, I bet. Did you ever play Ken Murray? The
Blackouts?
Ken Murray television show?
No. Ken Murray's Blackouts on Vine?
No,
the TV show. No.
Okay. But Ed Sullivan now has a big box set of all his stuff, so you guys should look through it. You might find your act.
I got a letter from. They wanted me to release. Sign a release because there was going to be a box set and a book coming out. I'm in the book. I appeared twice.
Then you're going to be able to put some stuff up on YouTube.
But guess what?
If they flag it, tell your assistant Kelly, you can put it up on Vimeo. Mm-hmm. Sid Krofft Vimeo. And they don't flag Vimeo.
Wow.
So, but I have my family's Ed Sullivan up on my YouTube channel. That doesn't seem to be a problem.
Wow.
So I would definitely look for that because people really need to see that. I mean, kids do not realize there was no YouTube. There was no way to film. I mean, kids now take it for granted. They've got a phone that can film everything they do and take pictures. We didn't have that.
No, nothing like that.
I mean, we had nothing of our history.
And you want to know something? When you're touring, like I was all over the world, you just, you get a review and you send it to your mom and she calls you or sends you a note and says, it was wonderful and throws it away, And,
exactly.
Yeah. And so I don't have records I played in Egypt. I played in Beirut. I played all over the world, not even for the tourists, because I wanted to play in clubs for the people,
I have a friend who had gotten in touch with me who does vaudevillian history. She's the one who found the 1919 silent film. And she's found for me all these newspaper clippings.
Wow.
Now, and you know, like headlines, like Josephine Baker at the Chicago Theater, orchestra leader Louis Basil. I mean, I've got the, you know, we've got tons. I will get her in touch with you because I'm telling you, she can find all the newspaper, everything. Put your name in, and she can find it from the beginning. You got to do that. You've got to look at the Ed Sullivan stuff.
I got to tell you something. Next week, I'm having Johnny Whitaker, who starred in, you know, Johnny, of course, was in Family Affair when he was a little kid, but he starred in Sigmund and the Sea Monsters for us. But with him, I'm going to have a guy called The Strangest Thing. His name is Crofty, and he's a huge fan. And he just called me a couple of days ago, and he said that he has been going to the New York Library, and he is finding all kinds of stuff.
That's right.
He kept saying, give me a list of the places that you played, like the Beverly Hills Country Club. Remember that nightclub that Don Arden had the Don Arden girls there? That was his first gig with like 8 girls, and you know.
And the Ambassador Hotel when the
I played there a lot. Yeah.
Well, you're going to be surprised because now you would
they
think,
can
I'm
find
getting
it
further and further away, so I'll never find that stuff. Now all of that stuff is surfacing. My friend that does all this background for vaudeville, she can go into every newspaper all the way back to 1919 and further
and find. Wow.
Yes, and because it's all going into the computers, it's all online. You don't even have to go to the New York Library.
Okay, you know what I can't find?
What?
When I was 10 years old, I wrote a letter to Walt Disney. And he answered me. And I asked him if I could do a puppet show of Pinocchio because the soundtrack just came out on vinyl, right? And he said, if you don't charge, I'll be watching you. And if you don't charge, you can do it. You can't charge anything. I charged the button or something, you know, in my backyard. And so I lost my house in 1994 in the earthquake, and somebody stole that letter. And I've been trying in the archives, in the Walt Disney archives, but they can't. There's got to be a copy. If he sent me a letter, you know, there has to be a copy in his files. So crazy things like that, you know.
Yeah. Well, all those kind of historic things are getting uploaded into the computers so that you don't have to go to the library anymore.
But
I mean, it's amazing. I'm gonna get her in touch with you, and you've got to get that Ed Sullivan box set.
How cool! Thank you so much. And you know what? Talking about Walt Disney, we met him with Sid Charisse and Toni Martin because I toured with them. When every time Tony played Vegas, you know, I was the opening act. And
Flamingo. He played the Flamingo when my dad was the orchestra leader there.
Yeah, and the Desert Inn, and he played all the hotels there. Yeah.
When you couldn't walk to the hotels, when there was desert in between all the hotels. Now you can. Now it's like, it's just a strewn of hotels. It's so different now.
Oh boy, you know it. So anyway, we're at the Polo Lounge, Marty and myself. Our show just opened at the Seattle World's Fair, Les Poupées de Paris. That was the new puppet show.
What was it called?
Les Poupées de Paris. It played to 9.5 million people.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was like 9 years of my career, you know, that show. And well, anyway, Walt Disney was sitting at the next table to Toni Martin and Sid, and he got up and he came to say hello to them. and I'm sitting at the table with my brother, and of course Toni introduced us to Walt Disney. I am peeing in my pants. I just can't believe that Walt
Did you
Disney.
tell him you wrote him a letter at 10 years old?
No, I never brought that up. And Walt Disney said to us, "Oh, I heard of you guys and that show in Seattle. I haven't seen it yet, but can I give you some advice?" And we both said, "Yeah." And he said, "Always put your name above everything that you create, because someday it'll be worth something." So that's why you see Sid Krofft,
That's right.
on everything. Or you see Toni Basil. Yeah, well, that's what makes us famous.
That's right. Put your name on that step. You made a step up. Name it your name. So
you know it. Hey,
yeah.
Toni, I'm looking at you we've been on 45 minutes, and I'm looking at you. What the hell is your secret? I mean, look at you.
I come in here and I dance every day.
Wow.
Although I'm standing today because I decided to take an online rumba class from Los Muñequitos and a Cuban dance group. And my sacroiliac hadn't seen rumba for 10 years. And we're standing today because sitting is a little bit uncomfortable. So I dance every day, and I know how to set up my lights.
No, look at you.
I set these lights up for an hour and a half with your assistant, Kelly. She came over and said, "You got to help me with these lights." So
yeah, but
lighting is everything. Lighting is everything.
Those lights don't have a star filter, Toni, and you look.
But the lights have parchment paper over the front of them.
Oh, they do.
Oh
no! Oh, Toni, you look fantastic.
Parchment paper, and I can't show you the light because it's gaffer taped down. But it's got parchment paper, and then I said to Kelly, I said, "I think we need a little pink." So I got this plastic thing from Ralph's that was pink, that you put vegetables in, and it was pink. So I covered a couple of over the parchment paper with pink. I mean, this is put together with spit right now. If there's an earthquake of any sort, everything will fall apart, and I will turn into that picture of Dorian Gray. As it
no,
changed.
That's me. No, yes. No. I have the picture of Dorian Gray. Yeah, in my closet. My God, I'm so sorry that you had all these problems, and I caused them all, and in asking you to come on.
No, it's part. It's part of the whole. Because we come from theater and film and television.
That's right.
We kind of know that it's a big picture. It's a village. There's lighting, there's the cameras, there's the setup, and where you're standing, and then there's the notes. Oh my God, Pufnstuf. Sigmund, what?
Sigmund and the Sea Monsters. The Bugaloos.
What did Jesse? What did Cameron Boyce? We introduced Cameron Boyce in 2009 when
you did the award, yeah.
When we did the awards, he walked in to audition, and I saw this face, this freckled face, and I thought, oh my God, if this kid can dance, and I'm changing everything. I'm gonna star him in the number.
And you did.
He auditioned and danced better than anyone at the audition, and I mean, I changed everything for his entrance. I mean, he was brilliant. At that age of 10, he was locking and popping and b-boying and breaking like an adult, and he was a performer.
Oh yeah.
He understood the character. Oh no, he was an immediate star. I mean, everybody knew, oh my God, this kid's a star.
Toni, we both know you got to be born with that. That's it.
Yeah.
Stars, they are born with something, and we recognize that right away.
Yeah.
You know, when they walk into the room, you just know.
Yeah.
You know, wow, this kid or this girl, they're going to make it big. And of course, at such a young age, he left us. That was like, and it was at the height of his career.
2 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I understand it was
at 20 years old. He was 20, I think, 19 or 20.
Yeah, and I think it was last week was his birthday, because Kenny Ortega told me that they were going to celebrate that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. No, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was a shock.
Yeah.
It was a shock. It was he had what was it? What I've lost it.
I don't know. Did he have something in his blood or?
No. Have Kelly look it up. It was something he had all his life, but I just didn't realize you could die from it. It was some kind of an attack. Oh, your audience is screaming out to us now what it was, because so many people know.
Yeah. No, Kelly's looking it up. You know, I want to get back to Toni Shamley, because Toni did many shows for us. And Toni did the Bugaloos. And when you talked earlier about MTV, that was way before MTV. And if you look at the Bugaloos, that we found those kids in England, and it was Mick Jagger that picked them, believe it or not.
Really?
In the auditions, yeah. Well, Lionel Bart was a great friend of mine who wrote Oliver.
I only know of him. I didn't know him.
Yeah, Lionel Bart. Yeah. And he wrote the music and the script of Oliver. And that's where I found Jack Wilde. You know.
Oh, baby. Jack Wilde in Oliver in that movie made me crazy. And interestingly enough, that role was played by Davy Jones on Broadway,
right.
Who became one of the Monkees.
That's right.
You know, and had a big TV career. But Jack Wilde,
nobody could touch him. He was nominated. He didn't win that year, but he was only like 15 years old. And they found him in a schoolyard. You know, because what happened was we just got the order of Pufnstuf, and Lionel Bart called me from England, and he said, I'm coming to LA tomorrow. Please come with me. I'm going to see a rough cut of Oliver, and it'll just be us. There's just a rough cut. And he said, I'm so nervous. When Jack Wilde came on the screen, Toni, I jumped out of my seat. I said, who is that kid?
Consider yourself one of us. That's
right.
Song
Consider yourself.
Oh my God. You know, your audience can go on YouTube and see those numbers. They can experience Jack Wilde.
No, it'll blow them away. Blow you away.
It was like, he's like crazy.
Yeah. Crazy.
So was the Artful Dodger. Ron, who played the Artful Dodger? They were
he played the Artful Dodgers, Jack Wilde, but you're talking about the
Ron Mooney.
Ron Mooney, he wasn't the Artful.
Played the head of the pickpocket gang.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, there was a
Jack
name.
Jack Wilde was the Artful Dodger.
That's right. You know what?
Audience can go see him. They need to go on YouTube when we finish up and experience Jack Wilde in Oliver.
And Pufnstuf. I mean, he has a lot of songs in Pufnstuf, you know, and of course, Billy Hayes as Witchy Poo. Wow. It was done over 50 years ago.
And wasn't Billy Barty your sea monster?
Yeah. Billy Barty. Yeah, I love Billy Barty. You know, Billy Barty was with Spike Jones. Remember Spike Jones? And he toured with them, and we worked in Miami at the Olympia Theater, a vaudeville theater, and that's where I met Billy Barty. And
Oh,
Billy
yeah.
Barty did an impersonation of Liberace. It was fabulous because Liberace in the early 50s was a huge television star.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. And then, oh my God, Miami. Oh, that was
The Fontainebleau. I saw Billy Wells in the Forfaits, my aunts at the Fontainebleau. They played the Fontainebleau in 1962, 61, 62.
wow. Well, I played there with Judy Garland in 58. 58. Yeah.
You got to start looking for footage. We got to start looking for footage of your act. We just do.
Okay. Okay. So that's
Because I know it's out there. The fact that I found my mother's aunts in 1919,
yeah.
it's out there. It's just out there.
But you want
and
to know
especially
something?
with Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, but you want to know something? Marionettes on film, they look jerky, but in real life on the stage, you know, it's just hard to capture on film a marionette.
It's like a magic act.
It is.
There's nothing like seeing a magic act in person.
In live, yeah.
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 Can I quote you?
Yes.
That's a great quote. Nothing like seeing a magic act live.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Okay. Okay.
Well,
you know what?
Because I remember my father saying when television happened and magic acts started to be on Ed Sullivan, my father said, "Well, you can do any. I mean, it's television. It's film. You can do anything. You have to see them live."
That's right.
I remember my father saying that. You've got to see them live.
Oh no, definitely. Yeah, every act.
They have to pull the card out of your ear. You know what I mean? You got to be there. You got to be there.
Hey, you know what? They're going to turn us off in a couple of minutes.
Are they?
Can you believe?
Maybe down the line we have to do a part 2.
Oh no, not down. No, we definitely will do a part 2. We got a lot to talk about.
We have a lot to talk about. You know, I choreographed Once Upon a Time in Hollywood this last year, Quentin Tarantino's film. And you know, it was on the 60s.
That's right.
Did you know that?
No, as a matter of fact.
Thank you very much. I am very current.
Oh my God. Are you really pissed off at me now?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So listen, what I did was I squeezed all the life out of it I could, because he called me the goddess of go-go on INLA when they did people behind the scenes. And so I did this webinar of classes for 5 weeks of the songs and the dance crazes of the 60s. And I'm going to relaunch that series again. But I'm going to rerun it. But I'm going to do one live because we never got to 1969, the Rufus Thomas hits, which was the dog, the funky chicken, the breakdown, the push and pull. And I'm going to do it live with the great Demita Jo Freeman, who was the most famous Soul Train dancer ever. She was a female that won all these crazy contests. She was Don Campbell's dance partner also from the Lockers. And she broke, because James Brown and Joe Teck would pull her up on stage on Soul Train. And she would do improvisational dances next to James Brown. I mean, she was phenomenal. So we're going to do the funky chicken, the breakdown, the push and pull. And that's going to be in July. So before we launch it in July, we got to do part 2.
Dude, oh God. And you want to know something? I just thought of something. When I was at the Lido in Paris, all the show people after late at night, 2 o'clock in the morning, because those shows don't start until 10, 11 o'clock. You know, all those
that's
shows.
why I go to bed at 5 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's because my dad, it's not movie hours.
No.
It's late club, nightclub hours.
Okay, so listen to this. And we all went to a little club behind the Lido, and it was called Discotheque. And I had all the American records that were sent to me because I played the Lido for a whole year. And they didn't have that music, and I used to give them all my records, and we all danced to records. That was 1953. I don't know when the discotheque
Disco didn't come in again, that part
until 60.
Until the late 70s,
Late 60s or 70s or something.
Yeah, late 70s.
Well, wait a minute. Studio 54, when was that?
Late 70s and 80s. 70s and 80s.
Did you used to go to Studio 54?
I didn't live in New York. And you know what? It was a little too much drug culture for me. You know, drugs and dance, and that doesn't work for me. But I did go a couple of times, and I went to see Grace Jones, and with Grace, we went back to Andy Warhol's apartment.
Wow.
Yeah. And you know, when people are drugged out, they sit and
stare at each other.
Yeah. So if you don't take the drugs also, it's like, why am I here?
Hey, Toni, between you and me, we could drop so many names. I mean, it's like, we are the best name droppers.
I think we have.
And I think we already have. You're right. I mean,
between you and I.
Oh my God. Thank you so much,
Toni. How much fun was this? I hope my audience and your audience had as much fun. I mean, our references, you know, for the younger audience, they're going, who's that? I hope people took notes and start looking up these people.
Oh, where can we find you, Toni? Where's all the videos?
Thank you. Well, you know, on Facebook, I have official Toni Basil and the official lockers. And then on Twitter, well, what have I got? Oh, Toni_Basil and Toni Basil's house on YouTube. Oh my God, I have 100 videos on that. And also ToniBasil.net. You can't see my t-shirts. But they're back here.
I guess I can.
Okay, they're back here. I have a t-shirt line on ToniBasil.net merch. If you go there, let's see. And I remade, so I could see some money, a master from scratch of Hey Mickey and Shopping A to Z. I actually see money from the streaming platforms because it belongs to me, so you can do that. And you know, in July we've got to do this again so that I can tell the audience.
We're going to do it again. Wow, thank you for even saying you would come back. Oh God, I love it.
I mean, the fact that, you know, when we were preparing for this and there was pictures of my father and you, and we have marquees. I mean, we have marquees of my dad's name and your name. My God.
It's insane. And do you know, hey, Toni, there are thousands of people watching us at this moment from all over the world. And they've been sticking with me. I've only been on a year right now, and I go live every Sunday. And they, I guess, are finding this so interesting because we tell them stories. Yeah.
And they can go to YouTube after the show is finished and look up so much of what we're talking about. I mean, that is, if the web hasn't killed the world in America, it's good for some things. You can go to YouTube and look at these acts, you know?
Toni. Yeah. I'm giving you the biggest hug in the world, and I know I've invited you to my house, but I probably said, "Can you come in the morning?"
Too early.
Okay, no, we'll do it in the afternoon. Definitely, we've got to do it.
I don't get. I go to bed when I say I go to bed between 3 and 5 in the morning.
Wow.
Because I'm a news junkie. And the news, you see, is 6 o'clock in New York, and Joe Scarborough and all these shows go on. And I'm a news junkie. So, and what do I need to get up for? Unless I'm doing Quentin Tarantino's film, then I get up. But you know, so I get up at 11.
Oh, by the way, I love that movie. I loved it.
Well,
and I didn't realize
we did a lot of rehearsal in my dance studio.
Wow.
We rehearsed over here.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Toni,
With
I
Margot
love you.
Robbie, she came over here. She lived close. Why go to the studio? Come around the corner. Let's rehearse here.
Wow.
This was a dream job. For me, it was a dream job. Plus, it was a movie. It was the 60s, which I
I
danced.
love that movie. Loved it.
And I knew very well Sharon, Roman, and Jay. I used to date Jay Sebring.
Wow.
I knew these people. So it was like an acid trip for me.
I met Sharon.
Well, I used to have dinner with them in Cannes here, up at Jack Nicholson's house.
Wow.
Yeah, I knew Sharon. She was divine. She was so sweet. She was so sweet and extraordinary. And you know, all the men were in love with her. I mean, Roman was in love with her. Jay was in love with her. Yeah. So that was some movie for me. That was some movie because, you know, Quentin closed down 6 blocks on Hollywood Boulevard. Musso and Frank's he shot at. I lived up the street. When I graduated from high school, I drove straight to the Sycamore Riviera because it was down the street from where I could take ballet class.
It's crazy because they wanted to come and look at my house to shoot something at my house. I wasn't really interested because
they found the exact match of the Sharon Tate house in the valley. I know.
I know that house. Yeah. No, my house looks nothing like it. I don't know what scene they wanted it for, but it didn't happen.
Or something.
It didn't happen. Okay, we're off. I love you so much. We're going to be talking.
Okay.
A lot.
Okay.
I love you. Thank you for coming on. Next week, Johnny Whitaker.
All right. I'm going to tune in.
Yeah. And Crofty. Yeah, that's right.
The fan. Crofty the fan.
Oh, incredible. He's on the East Coast.
Okay.
Yeah. Love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.